Minister of Foreign Affairs commenting on the royal visit, as well as a number of roadblocks to be expected, and the Ministry of Health is not looking at any travel bans at this time. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tyler Simonet with your JCN News for this Tuesday, March 22nd. News of the country footing the bill for the upcoming royal visit sets social media abuzz, reopening discussion on whether the country is ready to transition from a constitutional monarchy to a republic. Our Leah Cooper sat down with Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell on the matter, and here she is with the details.
Dozens of Bahamians annoyed at the news announced by Permanent Secretary to the Office of the Governor General that the Bahamas will be footing the bill for this week's royal visit. One Facebook user saying, quote, "The government knows we need help, yet we have to foot the bill for the rich." Another user says, "Independent sovereign nation? And another user says, "The thing that baffles me about these visits is that they put on a show that isn't realistic when the royals visit. If we invited them, meaning the royals, then we pay. But if they invited themselves, they should foot their bill." Well, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell explains why this is the case.
Well, the Constitution we have has the Queen as the head of state. I think this is her 75th year as Queen. And as part of the ritual that goes with that is she would normally herself come and visit all the realms and territories. So Bahamas being one of them, who's in the Commonwealth, her as still as the head of the country, she's sending a representative because she's unable to go or to come, and her representative is her grandson. And so this is part of maintaining the monarchy, as you pay for the expenses of all those things connected with.
This has also reignited discussion on social media, discussing the country possibly transitioning to a republic and distancing itself from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. To that, the minister says Bahamians have to speak up and change the system. Asked if he thinks the Bahamian people are ready to transition from a constitutional monarchy to a republic, Mr. Mitchell says this.
My sense is I don't think so. I think that the monarchist side in the Bahamas is still quite powerful. They're moneyed and will manipulate public opinion to make it something other than it isn't. Even Jamaica, which is even more radical than us, at least on the face of it, can't seem to, get the dander up to do something about it. Mia Motley, who just did it in Barbados, was able to do that because she didn't require a constitutional referendum. But anytime you start fooling around with a referendum in this country, I don't think anybody's going to fool with that, because it's just every referendum that we've tried, people have found a reason to oppose it, and for silly reasons. But, that's the way it goes. So I think the conventional wisdom is it's probably more profitable to spend time trying to resolve issues like poverty and hunger and the economy than constitutional issues. And maybe one day, sooner, hopefully for me, rather than later, the generations will determine that it's time to change.
The government will share the cost of the upcoming royal visit with the Sovereign Grant and the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. This coming from a statement released over the weekend by the committee responsible for the royal visit. The royal visit, slated for March 24th to 26th, will see the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge represent Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II as part of celebrations to mark her Platinum Jubilee. Reporting for JCN News, I'm Leah Cooper.
And the Royal Bahamas Police Force announcing road closures related to the royal visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. On Friday, Bay Street between Charlotte and East Streets, Parliament Street between East Hill and Bay Street, and Bank Lane between Shirley and Bay Streets will be closed between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. To that end, there will be no parking on the Bay and Parliament Streets. Further, from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., traffic traveling east will be diverted north on Navy Lion Road, east on the Wharf to East Street, south on Frederick Street and Bank Lane. The motoring public is being advised to take note of the road closures and traffic diversions. As a new highly transmissible variant of COVID-19 is making its rounds across the globe, especially in Asia, the government has no intentions of enforcing travel bans at this time. This much coming from the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville, just before the weekly cabinet meeting this morning.
Yeah, well, our team at the Ministry of Health is watching exactly what's going on in China, Asia, as well as Europe. And our job is to monitor. As we monitor, we will take into consideration what's happening, particularly the possibility of it now spreading to the United States, coming through California, and the list goes on and on. So we're watching it very closely.
Now, the country is currently preparing for the royal visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, Prince William and Kate Middleton, which is set for March 24th to the 26th. Dr. Darville spoke of some of the health measures that will be taken.
Well, you know, we have been in close contact with the Governor General's office to do our part as the Ministry of Health. All of the protocols we anticipate will be followed. Any changes or potential threat as a result of exposure to COVID will be dealt with. And so we feel that we're ready, and we look forward for the visit, for the Bahamian people to be a part of the festivity, particularly at Mounticue or whatever areas associated with it.
Dr. Darville confirmed that no event during the royal visit that is open to the public will ban unvaccinated people. However, they will still be required to have a negative COVID-19 test in accordance with COVID-19 protocols. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investment and Aviation Chester Cooper responds to opposition leader Michael Pintard, who accused the government of subsidizing tourists' COVID-19 tests, labeling the policy a shameful one. The DPM says this just sounds like political nonsense.
The facts are as follows. The previous administration and this administration have always provided a 5-day test or 2-day test, as the case might be, as a part of the fee that's being charged for the travel health visa. Instead of that test being a 5-day test, it is now a departure test. Same test. So if it is unprofitable now, it was unprofitable then. If we are subsidizing the travel for tourists now, we're subsidizing the travel then. So it's really nonsense in my view. And the reality of it is that we are transitioning the travel health visa matter. We do have a batch of tests on hand, and we made the determination that this is how we would handle it. It's no additional cost to the government. It's no change of the model whatsoever in terms of cost. It is what it is.
In his statement, Mr. Pintard pointed out that a health visa costs a visitor $40. This fee was sufficient to cover the cost of the health insurance, which is $25, administrative overheads, which is $10, and generate a small surplus of $5. He adds that when the cost of the COVID-19 test to return to the USA, which is $23, is factored in, the total cost of a health visa increases to $58. Ultimately, Mr. Pintard says if the government is charging visitors only $40 for the health visa, that it will pay $58 for. As a result, each time a visitor takes a COVID-19 test, the Bahamian taxpayer subsidizes the health visa to the tune of $18. To that, the DPM says this.
Let me just say this again. The model for the pricing of the travel visa did not change. Okay? Inclusive in the cost is a test, and that's always been the case. An administrative costs being covered, that has always been the case. And the cost of insurance, that has always been the case. Okay? If the opposition has a question in relation to a specific issue or pricing, they can call me. They know this. I'm very open to bipartisan conversations in the national interest. But I'm not going to engage in political nonsense. The model then is the model now. One test was included then, one test is included now.
The travel health visa was implemented by the Minutes administration in the height of the pandemic as a mitigation tool against COVID-19. Mr. Cooper says we're now in a lull period of the pandemic, and he hopes that we won't need the travel health visa in the medium term.
So when I foreshadowed transitioning the travel health visa, I'm suggesting that if we are fortunate that there is not a fourth wave, there will be no real tangible reasons to continue the travel health visa in the form that it's in. I have foreshadowed before, however, that we are eliminating the paper card that's being used as an immigration landing card. What we hope to be able to do is to digitize that so persons can complete this form online ahead of travel. But that would be for immigration purposes rather than for the Ministry of Health.
The DPM was unable to give a timeline as to when we can see the end of the travel health visa. However, he insists that when a decision is made, there will be an announcement. Director of Family of All Murder Victims, a non-profit organization aimed at helping those directly disenfranchised by crime, Candy Gibson, in a social media post put the country on notice that her organization plans to hold a civil demonstration at some point during the visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Now, the royal couple is scheduled to visit the capital on Thursday, the 24th, and Mrs. Gibson notes that it is her intention to use this time to shine some light on the many injustices faced by women and girls around the country.
We don't have nothing against the government, past or present. Our fight is not with the government. We want to get the attention of the world. We have persons in our country fleeing from domestic violence situations. We have little girls in our country being raped by their father. We have a domestic violence bill that needs to be tabled. We asked for Crown Land for a female shelter and empowerment center. Even though that application would have been put in from the previous administration, we are aware that this administration just came in. But at the end of the day, we can't run from it. We have a lot of domestic violence situation going on in our country. We just had Carissa Culmer. They say it's led to the suicide. We have Heavenly, who would have left the boyfriend, but would have to come right back, and so we just asking for the government to partnership with us and give us allocate budget for NGOs like Form to operate from to better assist persons in our country.
Mrs. Gibson emphasizes the point that her motives for this demonstration are not political, but she hopes to bring the necessary attention to the issues that her organization seeks to help persons with on a daily basis.
So do bear in mind, the Duke and Duchess, they have a history of charitable work and they believe in charity. When empty phones are turned off in the night so they don't answer, Candy Gibson always has to answer. In fact, my phone ringing right now. My phone don't stop ringing. And people pulling me left, right, and center. And so we have to highlight what's going on in our country. I hope to gain clarification. I hope to gain partnership. I hope to gain that we will be able to secure females. I hope to be able to give females the right to now want to walk away from their abusive relationship or abusive partner, because now whatever the world saying, they might want a partnership with form, and they want to help us facilitate our female shelter. And then we know people in this country are hurting and they need help.
The FOAM director says she has been working for years and now petitioning the government for Crown Land to build a shelter for battered women, but to no avail. She says she hopes that this demonstration will sufficiently incentivize officials to finally act. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.